Hello, Chip GT here. When it comes to a virtual pinball machine and mounting a PC, the community is a little divided on whether or not having a case is a good idea or not. Some say a case is just too big and bulky, you can save money by not putting a case in there, and that it's really not that bad to leave your components out in the open. Others say, no, it's absolutely needed. You have to have a case to protect your PC. In today's video, we're going to discuss mounting a PC, case or no case. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and coin in and push that start button. Cases do a lot more for you than having fancy glass and RGB lights, and some of these things may not be that obvious. First and foremost, cases provide your PC physical protection. During the winter, or if you live in a dry climate, cases protect components from static. It's extremely easy to short out a motherboard just by touching it if static discharge happens. I know this from personal experience and have shorted out many microcontrollers, lighting components, and even a video game controller or two. If you have a discharge of static on the case, it is specifically designed to find and go to ground to protect your components. A good case will also have dust catchers and are specifically designed to keep dust and insects away from components. This is important because dust buildup can cause overheating by insulating components and restricting airflow. Running a PC without a case with the motherboard down flat is way worse than you may think, because dust can settle directly on the motherboard or down into the PCIe slots or the RAM slots. Plus, any component with a fan, like a power supply, CPU, or GPU, will collect a lot more dust exposed rather than being in a case. In some PC cases, the fans act like a first line of defense against dust, and if you configure your case properly, it will create positive pressure in the case, keeping dust out, making cleanings easier and less frequent. But let's say you already have your PC mounted in your cabinet and you don't ever touch it, and you keep your cabinet so clean it's actually cleaner than your house. You still have to deal with the fact that the GPU is a very heavy component, and if you have shakers and solenoids moving and jostling the cabinet around, it could cause damage. And this places your whole system at risk of critical failure and can break the GPU, motherboard, or PCIe slots due to the weight of the components. The most obvious is the GPU if you don't have it set up in a secure way. Beyond keeping your system safe, cases can reduce noise, especially if your model provides acoustic dampening rather than a window. They also give you ports on the front panel and are designed in a way to give you proper airflow. Having been an owner of a real pinball machine at one point in my life, I can tell you one of the biggest issues that I ever had, and this is especially true if you have solenoids and shakers, is dropped objects. Periodically, I would open up my Hobbit machine and, just for routine cleaning, and I would lift the playfield up, and there at the bottom of the cabinet was washers and nuts. And I really had a hard time figuring out where they went to and what they came from. If you look inside of a Jersey Jack machine, this is why the PC is encased inside of a metal box, to prevent dropped objects from shorting out the boards. Stern places their main PC in the back box, but I don't have that luxury because a gaming PC is not the same size as a Spike 2 system. Right now you're probably thinking, but Chip GT, what about the Teensy and the Pin Skateboard and the iPac Ultimate? Well, those are all relatively inexpensive to replace, and if I really wanted to, I could print with my 3D printer a nice little shroud that went around them to protect them. Currently, I have them configured and set up in a way that there is no possible way for a dropped object to fall on them. And with that, you may be thinking, well, is there a proper way to mount an open air system? Or you may be thinking, I just don't have the space for this. Open air systems will work, you just need to know how to handle it, and as long as you have the proper test bench or open air setup that correctly secures heavy components, you won't have a problem. There are other options to have a GPU mounted off the motherboard as well, such as a vertical GPU mount. Going caseless can be a good idea, and there are some benefits in doing this. Cases can get bulky. They do take up a lot of room, and if you are limited on space, you're going to be running into a situation where you don't have enough airflow coming in to your cabinet to cool the components correctly. So having an open air system eliminates all that wasted space. And also, when you're building a computer, not having a case can save you somewhere in the neighborhood between $80 to $150. So now is the big question, where exactly do I stand on this topic? For me, it's more of a question of how do you plan on using your Vpin cabinet? If you don't plan on moving it around that much, then yeah, maybe an open air system will work best for you. However, my cabinet, I plan on taking it to Pincinnati and a couple of other different shows to kind of show it off and showcase what a Vpin cabinet can do. So I'm at a higher risk of having a dropped object, especially transporting the cabinet around and putting it upright and vertical, if things could fall down on the computer and damage it in a way. So I'm looking at having a case in there. Now, my current PC will fit in my cabinet, but it will require a lot of workaround for me to do because my solenoids are just a little too low. I'd have to move those around and kind of rearrange some things in order to make it fit right. There's another option between having an open air system and having a full-blown PC case like what I have in the cabinet, and that is to get a micro case that can support a full ATX motherboard. Over the weekend, I spoke with J Pops and was asking him, hey, how do you think I should try to solve this problem? Because micro ATX cases are not cheap. And he said, well, did you ever consider looking at the mesh room? So I went online and I looked at this mesh room case, and it is actually one of the cheaper options. And what's great about this case is it does everything as far as dust prevention in a small form factor that's just a little bit bigger than the Xbox Series S, and it will support a full ATX motherboard. I may have to get a different power supply, and I will definitely need to get liquid cooling in here. So that will set me back about $270 if I go this route, but this will guarantee that no damage will happen while I'm in transit to the PC. And the mesh, all around mesh, is really great for airflow, and it also gives you a really good protection against dropped objects. So I'm kind of leaning towards this right now. I'm going to take the next couple of weeks to do the research on the mesh room case and the water cooling and really kind of figure out if this is the route that I want to go, or would it be better for me to try to work out the case that I currently have and move some things around. Let me know how you plan on putting your PC in your cabinet in the comments below. Well, that wraps up this video. If you learned something, please give me a like, please subscribe, and make sure you share this with your friends. That's how the channel grows. It really does help me out. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one.